Welcome Vintage Hollywood Archive. Sprawling naked across a bearskin rug, one hand strategically draped over a muscular thigh, a smoldering cigarillo clenched in his wry smile, with one unforgettable Cosmo centerfold, Burt Reynolds became the macho sex symbol of the 1970s. How Burt Reynolds ended up nearly homeless. Make sure to watch the video until the end. And if you are new here, don't forget to join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Vintage Hollywood Archive channel. From Hollywood's highest paid to nearly homeless. If your first memory of Burt Leon Reynolds is from the 1993 film Cop and a Half, then you're probably too young to remember, or even realize that Burt Reynolds was one of Hollywood's biggest movie stars. To put it in perspective, every year from 1973 to 1984, Reynolds was listed as one of Quigley's top 10 moneymakers and held the top spot on the annual poll from 1978 to 1982. The only other person to boast a record 5 consecutive years at the top of the list is Bing Crosby back in the 1940s. With hit movies like Smokey and the Bandit, Deliverance, The Cannonball Run, and The Longest Yard, the screen hunk dominated the global box office and was Hollywood's highest paid star, raking in millions. Reynolds would later joke it took him forever to make it as a star, but he actually had a quick rise to the top. He caught the acting bug at college in the mid-1950s and soon found jobs in summer stock, the New York stage, and TV guest shots. In 1959, he was cast as the second male lead in Riverboat, a sort of wagon train on water with Darren McGavin. Many articles noted Reynolds' physical resemblance to Marlon Brando. No Hollywood star has exposed his emotions, his love life, career, and ambitions, or his body quite as openly as Burt Reynolds. He acted in scores of films, directing many of them, and produced and appeared in hundreds of TV movies and series. Many were eminently forgettable, though a role in Boogie Nights won him a Best Supporting Actor Oscar nomination. It was his extravagant and explosive lifestyle, aspects of which affected his career, that often made the headlines. But all movie stars have ups and downs. Reynolds, for whatever reason, seemed to have more than most. So, let's take a look back at Reynolds' incredible life story and the truth behind his rise to fame. With his wry grin, thick mustache, and thicker chest rug, Burt Reynolds was one of the biggest sex symbols of the 1970s. And boy, did he take advantage of it. By his own admission, the Smokey and the Bandit star, who was one of the decade's highest paid actors, hopped from bed to bed, dating beauties from Farrah Fawcett to Goldie Hawn. But the Medallion Man image quickly went out of fashion, and just as the serial womanizer was rumored to have AIDS, his career nosedived. "I was surprised a lot of women didn't say, 'Have you been tested?' because you should be," he said. "I jumped from one to the other, and I certainly could have handled those situations better." When all the AIDS stuff came out, you're going to get swallowed up by everything. "I made some stupid mistakes," he said, "and I haven't been the nicest guy in the world about keeping my mouth shut about women." Burt knew how HIV and AIDS brought the glare of the public, even when, in his case, he hadn't contracted the virus. After breaking his jaw while performing a stunt in the early 1980s, he developed a painful joint problem, which meant he couldn't eat. He lost a lot of weight and, as a result of the rumors, lost a lot of friends, though celebs like Elizabeth Taylor and Clint Eastwood stood by him. "A lot of those friends who turned their backs were a pain in the ass too," he said. "I also knew some people who had AIDS, and I had a whole different kind of respect for them after what happened. I tried all I could to help them." But long before Burt earned his womanizing reputation, he was a Hollywood wannabe and much more cautious with the ladies. Burt Leon Reynolds was born on February 11, 1936, to Harriet Furnett Reynolds and Burton Milo Reynolds. Though his parents loved their son, he admitted that their relationship was pretty complicated. While his mom was an emotional and supportive parent, his father was oftentimes judgmental and harsh, and expressing positive emotions wasn't common. "I would have killed for a hug from my father," Reynolds revealed in an interview with Piers Morgan. Despite his difficult beginnings, he would one day go on to become one of the most famous and adored movie stars of all time. The Reynolds family moved multiple times in the early years of his life before finally settling down in Riviera Beach, Florida, near Palm Beach, where he eventually became chief of police. It was while living here that Burt discovered his love and natural talent for the game of football. This talent later earned him a scholarship to Florida State University, where he played halfback. Burt was a dedicated alumnus of Florida State and remained involved in the university throughout his life. During his college years, Reynolds made a huge impression on everyone he met due to his acting talents. But he made some pretty exciting connections with fellow future stars. One in particular was his roommate, Lee Caruso, who of course went on to become the legendary ESPN broadcaster and analyst. Funnily enough, Caruso's other roommate in the college days was Ron Frazier, who would go on to become the University of Miami's baseball team coach. And this wasn't the only great friend Reynolds would meet during this time. One of Reynolds' earliest and greatest friends was singer and musician Jerry Reed. They first met in Nashville in their youth and went on to become super close pals. The friendship would go on to become not only a friendship, but a professional one, as they would later join forces to star in movies such as WW and the Dixie Dance Kings, Highballin', and the popular Bandit film series. Although Burt arrived at Florida State with the hopes of pursuing a professional football career, these aspirations were cut short when he injured his knee in a car accident, hindering his ability to play. Never one to stay down for long, Burt soon began taking classes at Palm Beach Junior College, where he was introduced to acting by Professor Watson B. Duncan III. Reynolds was encouraged by a drama teacher to try for a play he was producing, Outward Bound. Duncan cast him as the lead role. He later cited Professor Duncan as the most influential person in his life. It was also at PBJC that Burt was cast in a production of the play Outward Bound, for which he won the 1956 Florida State Drama Award. This award included a scholarship to the Hyde Park Playhouse in New York, where Burt further developed his acting skills, joining such classmates as Carl Lawrence, Red Buttons, and Frank Gifford. "If I hadn't been an actor, I would have been a coach, but I would have been a good one. All teaching is communication," he said. He toured with the company's Team in Sympathy and got favorable reviews, meeting Joanna Woodward, who helped him get an agent. Reynolds persevered in Manhattan, supporting himself with various menial jobs and occasionally acting stints before landing his first Broadway role as Skip in Look, We've Come Through in 1961. Reynolds' fondness for student work landed him one of his earliest television appearances. He was offered $150 to jump through a plate glass window on live television. He soon got noticed by Hollywood. He found his way into acting. He got his start in a series of television roles, including a regular gig on Western series Riverboat. But Reynolds was unhappy on Riverboat, disliking McGavin, the series producer, and his role. Unlike college, Clint Eastwood, who was happy to guts out Rawhide for 8 seasons, Reynolds complained and eventually threw one of the show's directors in a lagoon and quit the show, a remarkable action for a young actor just starting out. He spent the next few years playing guest roles on TV and had a short stint on Broadway, but it seemed his acting career might have been wrecked for good. In 1962, Reynolds was cast in a support part in Gunsmoke, then one of the most popular shows in the country. He played a half-breed. The actor had some Native American ancestry. He received good reviews and was a hit with the audience. His career skyrocketed in the 70s when he landed his breakout film role in the 1972 film Deliverance. From there, he went on to appear in almost 200 movies. After his first marriage with actress Judy Carn ended bitterly after 2 years in 1965, Reynolds' lovers included Tammy Wynette, Dinah Shore, Tennessee Chris Everett, Lorna Luft, and Sally Field, his co-star in 3 movies, before meeting Lonnie Anderson. The romance between Burt Reynolds and Lonnie wasn't the longest one, but it was one of the biggest love-hate relationships ever. Their divorce lasted over 3 times longer than their marriage, and they have gone from crazy in love to public insults to eventually peaceful. Before the divorce, Reynolds was one of Hollywood's leading actors. His career faded over the next years, and, in the end, the divorce has left him financially and emotionally drained. Burt Reynolds met Lonnie Anderson when they were filming Stroker Ace, a 1983 action comedy. The movie followed the story of a NASCAR driver, played by Reynolds, who stands up against a fried chicken company, the sponsor of his car, who always expects him to do what they want. After an on-screen romance, Reynolds and Anderson started seeing each other privately as well. They dated for several years and seemed very happy together. At one point, they were the hottest Hollywood couple. They dated for about 5 years before they decided to bring their relationship to the next level by getting married. It was the year 1988, and it was one of the greatest celebrity weddings ever. The extravagant wedding perfectly captured what their married life would be like. Both for the wedding and later in life, they loved everything that's expensive and that fitted their celebrity lifestyle. It was a relatively small affair with 65 guests, including Anne Margaret and Jim Nabors. The couple was very much in love with each other. As Reynolds said at the ceremony, "I am a very lucky man," while at the same time, Anderson gushed that she had married her Prince Charming. Later that summer, the newlyweds expanded on their family by adopting their son Quentin. Little did they know that their fairy tale wouldn't last forever. Sadly, their marriage ended after only 5 years. 20 years after starring in one of Hollywood's most acrimonious divorces, splitting from the improbably voluptuous TV actress Lonnie Anderson, that ancient marital breakup is threatening to cripple him financially yet again. Such days are long gone for Reynolds. He has endured rehab for addictions to pills and alcohol, a quadruple heart bypass, and back surgery for injuries suffered during movie stunts. A toupee sat atop his weathered face, displaying signs of cosmetic surgery. He was in danger of losing his beloved 4-acre waterfront estate in Hobe Sound, Florida, as spiraling debt and a series of bad investments threatened to plunge him into bankruptcy for a second time. It's a sad situation for a guy who was once a major box office draw with millions of fans and a fat bank balance, says a friend. This financial misery is wearing Burt down. Anderson won a court case demanding Reynolds cough up the $58,000 that remained unpaid from her €140,000 divorce settlement following their bitter breakup in 1994. Adding interest, the judge ordered Reynolds to pay his ex £92,000. But an insider claimed Burt just doesn't have the cash to make good on the debt. The actor was also fighting moves by banks to foreclose on his long-term home, a pretty Mediterranean-style 5-bedroom villa on an estate he named Valhalla beside an exclusive inland waterway near West Palm Beach, Florida. It boasts a luxury pool, private beach, boat dock, cinema, tennis court, helicopter landing, and hair salon. Bank of America claims Reynolds has made no payments on his home's €700,000 mortgage since October 2010. Bank Atlantic also holds a €450 second mortgage on the property, and Anderson has a €180 mortgage on the house as part of her divorce settlement. Reynolds put the estate up for sale, first at €9 million, dropping to €7.6 million, and price-cutting 6 times until it is now priced at €2.9 million, but still has no buyer. It's a tragic downfall from the star who once dominated Hollywood, but is much of his own making. Reynolds invested his money in a succession of bad bets. He owned U.S. gridiron football team the Tampa Bay Bandits, which folded after 3 seasons. His nightclub Burt's Place in Atlanta, Georgia, closed after 1 year. He bought a 160-acre estate in Florida, dubbing it Burt's Ranch, transforming it into a film studio where scenes from Smokey and the Bandit were filmed, opened a chain restaurant across America, and built a 450-seat diner and theater Jupiter near his home. All are now gone. Reynolds lived the high life while his films faltered at the box office and blockbuster movie offers disappeared. He turned down some major roles. Over the course of a near 60-year career, one is bound to pass on some prime roles. And Reynolds turned down a lot, including Han Solo in Star Wars, R.P. Murphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Edward Lewis in Pretty Woman, and John McClane in Die Hard. Although he doesn't regret that final one. "I don't regret turning down anything Bruce Willis did," Reynolds told. More notably, and perhaps more regrettably, Reynolds turned down a chance to play James Bond in 1969. As Reynolds explained it, "In my infinite wisdom, I said to producer Cubby Broccoli, an American can't play James Bond. It just can't be done. And they really tried to talk me into it. It was a 10-minute discussion. Finally, they left. Every night, I wake up in a cold sweat." The role Reynolds lamented turning down the most, however, is a role that was written specifically with him in mind. When director James L. Brooks approached him about playing Garrett Breedlove in 1983's Terms of Endearment, Reynolds balked, instead of taking a role in Hal Needham's Stroker Ace. "When it came time to choose between Terms and Stroker, I chose the latter because I felt I owed Hal more than I did Jim," Reynolds explained. "Nobody told me I could have probably done Terms and Universal would have waited until I was finished before making Stroker." The role went to Jack Nicholson, who took home the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in 1984. But it was his accusation of murder which shook Reynolds to his core. Reynolds was cast in the male lead of The Man Who Loved Cats Dancing alongside Sarah Miles, then married to writer Robert Bolt. Miles was having an affair with her assistant, David Whiting, who was jealous of Miles' relationship with Reynolds during the film. One night, after celebrating Reynolds' birthday, and she hid in Reynolds' room. The next day, Whiting was found dead, with drugs in his system and a head injury. Rumors spread like wildfire, and both Miles and Reynolds were suspected of murder. In the end, an inquest found that Whiting died from a self-administered drug overdose. But the scandal could have wrecked Reynolds' career. Reynolds gave longtime fans a scare when in January 2013, the 76-year-old icon was rushed to the intensive care unit of Florida Hospital. In a release statement, it was revealed that Reynolds had been diagnosed with a worsening bout of influenza. After a string of minor direct-to-video films, Reynolds starred in indie drama The Last Movie Star and romantic comedy Miami Love Affair. But Reynolds died of cardiac arrest at his home in Jupiter, Florida, on September 6, 2018. He was 82. Burt Reynolds was undoubtedly one of the biggest legends in Hollywood history. He has won praise for his performance on both the big and small screen, as a producer, and even as an athlete. But now Burt Reynolds is the only one who regrets his career. Hollywood can be a dangerous place. How Natalie Wood's fame destroyed her? Watch the video and find out.